So I'm making this mini bass 6, and I wanted to do like a hybrid somewhere between an acoustic instrument and a semi-hollow instrument. Basically being I didn't want to bend sides and whatnot, and so I thought I could make this basic frame with these solid sides. I have to go a little thicker than an acoustic to keep them strong. And then I also wanted to recess, it's going to have a closet door top and back of course, and I wanted to recess them into the mahogany. Now I knew I was going to run into problems with chipping here. So you can see there's like a little bit of chip out. But I think what I did is I cut this a little bit deeper than it needs to be, so I'm going to be able to sand this edge in, and I think that these chips are going to be really not too big of a deal. The back here, we might have to do something creative there. But then the worst case scenario is I could always just level this down and just make the instrument thinner and do a regular top and binding. I just thought it'd be really cool to do this built-in binding. So I'm experimenting with that. But yeah, I think that I'll be able to make this edge work. But then the one thing I messed up on is that I cut out, so I'm going to sort of soften some of this bracing a little bit. I just want to make as minimal a connection as possible to keep the integrity of the instrument, almost like, you know, bracing in an acoustic guitar. But I messed up. I forgot that my pickup that I already made doesn't have tabs. It actually mounts through the center, and I should have left a bottom for it, and I didn't. So I just cut out of this piece of scrap mahogany this little plate, which I will then just glue in there, and then that'll give me something to adhere the pickup to without having to add too much more wood. So. The edge around the front of this fared pretty well, and I think it'll be okay. The edge around the back, I'm not quite sure. We'll have to glue it in and see what happens, but there's a few chips here and there that might look a little ugly, but if it doesn't look good, I can always just route that in. I just have to do a deep binding. I have a router bit that does that, and I could just bind it. I could bind the top too if I had to, if it looks weird. But I think we might be okay with this. It's a fun idea, at least. If I'd left it a little thicker, it would have been easier. Yeah, it looks like I'll be able to sand out some of those little chips by just putting a slight chamfer on the edge. I might even go into my router table to do that. Here they're a little bit deeper, but the body's pretty thick, and I want to make it a little more ergonomic on the hand to play this upper register, because I think it's going to get used a lot with such a small instrument. So I'm going to actually cut this away, because this is all solid here, and it's well over an inch thick, so I'm going to cut some of this away for like a little hand recess. Which will take care of those chips, and I think make it a better instrument. But I gotta figure out how to do it and do it by hand. this looks and feels better. Makes a little more sense. Nice pocket to put your hand in. But what I don't like is how I have this mahogany built-in edge banding everywhere except here now. So what I'm doing is I'm heating up the old steam bender, and I just cut a thin strip of mahogany that I'm going to bend and glue along this edge to just sort of make it look like it was cut like that to begin with. This is a fun little beast that was a custom commission. This is like a mini bass 6. It's sort of in the ukulele scale range, a little bit bigger, 23.5 inches, whereas a normal bass 6 is 30 inches. And I like making instruments in this range and sort of pushing some of the scales of things a little bit. So this is like a semi-hollow, so you can sit on the couch and hear it a little bit, but it's not a full acoustic because of the way I made the sides and stuff. But you see it has a little bit of acoustic properties, not a lot. It's not going to be loud. Right now I have it strung up with Stringjoy 95 to 26, which is like the heavy gauge for a normal 30-inch scale bass. So they're a little slack in the lower strings. The top strings feel perfect, but you could probably put a little bit of a thicker string, especially on the low E, to give it a little more tension, because they do get, that's one of the problems with making these short instruments, is the strings get loose and sloppy. You know, when they get shorter and you're trying to get those low notes out. But it's pretty playable right now, but I think I wouldn't mind seeing just a slightly thicker low E string and maybe a low A string. The rest of them feel good though. And I'm pretty pleased with the way those came out. I did put a piezo in here, which by itself is a little underpowered because there's no preamp, and so the volume difference between my custom wound pickup and that are pretty dramatic, which is kind of a bummer, but it does give it just that little bit of a crisp lift when mixed with the magnetic pickup. And if you really want to do like an acoustic sound with it, you could just use just that and put it into a preamp, and then you'd be able to dial it in and whatnot. But yeah, so I'm sending this one off to its new owner, and I'm looking forward to making the next crazy thing. Stick around. Be good.